Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of 5 Minute Major Radio. Dave here. As everyone can tell, I am by myself this evening, so it'll be a short, sweet, and quick episode. Still available on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, all that fun stuff later. Master's off busy attending to some family matters. Nothing serious, nothing major, but we got personal lives, gangs. This is hockey isn't our entire lives, much to our disdain there. As Brenna gives me a look that says otherwise. But yeah, so just we're gonna touch on a couple quick things here. Go over the Flyers' a recent schedule late and how everything's been going in that regard. Overall, since we last joined you last week, right before Halloween, the day after that trouncing by the Pittsburgh Penguins, and before that the New York Islanders. Flyers went and headed into an important weekend, a one divisional matchup, and a big game against the Leafs, and then leading up to last night's huge game against the Carolina Hurricanes. We're going a little bit of those games there, which I was in attendance for all three, not a big deal. But starting off Friday night, a 4-3 shootout win against the New Jersey Devils, in which Joel Farabee got his first career NHL goal. And overall, a gritty performance by the Flyers, bouncing back, go down early, take the lead, Devils tied up late, and then go to a shootout and just get business done. The big takeaway I have from that game is Carter Hart looked back to being Carter Hart. A nice morale-boosting win, and good for the Flyers to get a win in a shootout, something this team hasn't done a lot since the shootout's been brought into the league since 2006 there. So overall, it was a nice, gritty, good, fun win. I went up with fans of Philly to a nice trip. If anyone's looking to do any trips at all around for any of the Philly sports teams, fans of Philly is obviously a good place to hook up with, obviously. And then moving on to Saturday night, and again, another shootout game, this time losing in an 11-round shootout to the Toronto Maple Leafs, a game where the Flyers thoroughly got outplayed in the first period, and then came out to take business and take names in the second and third, and then honestly probably should have won in overtime. But Frederick Anderson, the goalie of the Maple Leafs, just frankly stood on his head really well. And then the shootout, like I said, went 11 rounds. Eventually Travis Konechny scores in round 8, but then Jason Spezza scores right then and there again. And, of course, another Maple Leafs player scored. I'm forgetting who got the second goal for them. And then that ended the game, because at that point it was sudden death. But overall, at least over the weekend, they got a possible 3 out of 4 points, which helps them, stay in the standings there. And moving up to last night, which was an impressive win over the Carolina Hurricanes, a game in which the Flyers, frankly, were outplayed in the first period, but came out of it 1-0, up 1-0, thanks to Sean Couturier's power play goal. And then again, outplayed for the majority of the second period, came out of that 1-1, but then something must have happened in the locker room and during the second intermission, because the Flyers came out to play in the third period, where they finally brought some play back to the Carolina Hurricanes, and they exploded for 3 goals. Joel Farabee getting another one, Claude Giroux scoring on a breakaway, and I'm forgetting who got the second goal there. I'll have to check out the stats here. Here we go, so I can get proper information for everyone. Sean Couturier in the first, Konechny in the third, Konechny, Farabee, then Giroux, and overall, and Carter Hart, again, started last night and was phenomenal. He actually ended up being the third star of the game, Travis Konechny being your first star, and Joel Farabee being the second star. Hart ended up making 30, he's only allowed 1 goal, but he made over 30 saves. I think I was reading today online on Twitter that his save percentage was a 96-97% in last night's game. So not too shabby there. Hart was definitely back in form, and also Hart has already, Aline Vigneault came out today at practice, and Voorhees saying that Hart will get the start tomorrow night against the Montreal Canadiens, which is an equally huge game. Starting with that, depending on outcomes, the Flyers can be tied with Canadiens in points with 18 and be in that second wild card spot in the playoff spot. Granted, if we look at the standings right now, it's so early in the season still, they're right in it. They currently sit at 7-5-2 with 16 points. They're one back of the Pittsburgh Penguins, two back of Montreal, and actually two back of Florida as well. Florida and Montreal are both tied for that wild card spot there. But Florida's played less games, so they have the tiebreaker, of course. And overall, it's a key stretch of games coming up, of course. If we look back, they've got, like I mentioned, Montreal tomorrow night, then at Toronto Saturday night, and then at Boston on Sunday night. This is a key weekend. It's definitely going to test. We're getting some Atlantic Division opponents coming up, and then they get 2 days off, and then head into next Wednesday night to play the Washington Capitals at home on Wednesday Night Hockey on NBC Sports Channel. So that's going to be a very important game coming up. Lots of games filled here in the month of November as really things get grinding down. If the Flyers can keep on, if they can build on the way they've been playing headed into Thanksgiving, that's what, all of the NHL execs and all the NHL media, everyone says, if you're in and out of the playoffs around American Thanksgiving, that's going to give you an idea of who's going to the show or not in the playoffs come April. And of course, last year, that was completely wrong because look where the St. Louis Blues were, and they ended up winning the Stanley Cup. But that's really it going for the schedule. One thing I want to note, too, comment on another note, sometimes, you try and ignore people who are online and the negative negative Nancys per se of the world, but after last night just kind of had enough. Had a couple individuals just every time I would post something about the Flyers on my own personal accounts, I'm not going to say their names, would just always say something over and over again like the same old Flyers, they're not better, they're not changed, they're not going anywhere. And I'm finally, enough's enough. And overall, I'm to those people, because I've seen them all over on Twitter, all over Facebook, you're wrong. Something I want to address here is the fact that under a Ron Hextall, Dave Hextall era team, you would not see players like Mikhail Vorobiev and German Ruvtsov doing the up and down between Lehigh Valley. A player like Carson Twarynski would not be in the lineup. Carter Hart would not be your starting goaltender. Joel Farabee would not be on your top line right now with James Van Riemsdyk and Claude Giroux. And so there's things that he's showing, the improvements. Ron Hextall refusing to make trades, refusing to upgrade this team. The additions of Matt Niskanen, of Justin Braun, of Kevin Hayes, who's been one of the biggest pieces to this team this entire year. So, kind of how dare you say this team hasn't changed? Like, yes, they had some bumpy roads along the way, but, it's still going on. They're right in the mix. They're above 500, which I believe at this time last year we could not say that. It's not the same team. They're playing a higher up-tempo hockey. You can see the changes that this coaching staff of, Alain Vigneault, Michel Therrien, Mike Gill, and even Ian Lapierre, they've made. You can see a significant change in the power play structure. Giroux going from his off wing to his proper wing, on again, off again for the one-timers and being a setup man. You see Ivan Provorov coming back to form, who's now taken Shane Gostisbehere's spot on power play unit 1. You see the penalty kill actually making changes and killing aggressively and even getting shorthanded changes or chances at time, So overall, I just feel like the fans, and there's always going to be this group of fans in any fan base wherever you go, but the fact that just because there was a couple rough games and they got pounced by the Pittsburgh Penguins, it's the same old Flyers. Well, really it's not. And if you I guess these people just like being miserable. But overall, if you wanted to open your eyes and actually watch and if you really want to open your eyes, like I know those people have blinders behind their actual eyeballs, open up your second set of blinders there, because if you're actually watching this team intently, going to games, being an active sporting fan, just watching the product you're seeing, you can tell there's a difference. Is it perfect? Hell no. But hockey is an imperfect sport. That's part of what makes the game what it is. It's a game based off of luck. It's a based off of chances and who can take advantage of those opportunities. And last night, to be honest with you, based on a whole 60-minute effort, the Flyers didn't deserve to win. They did not deserve to win. But because of their third period they had, and because they have one hell of a goalie in Carter Hart in net, that's why they won last night. And when they needed to, their bigger players stood up. You're having Travis Konechny get another goal, who is now on pace for a 40-goal season. I believe I said he would score at least 30. Well, he's going to up me apparently right now. You have Oscar Lindblom, who's also on the pace, tied for Konechny with 7 goals. Another player, Oscar Lindblom, would not be in your top 6 right now under the previous regime we had going into last season. And it's just, like, open up your blinders, actually pay attention to the product you're seeing, and you can tell that it's changed. Now, of course, we can go 1 week from now, and I could be sounding like a pompous asshole, just to be frank. But just overall, like, enough of the negative Nancy's. Enjoy the product you're seeing, and enjoy the hockey, because, frankly, it's up-tempo, fun-paced hockey when they're playing well, and they're learning Alain Vigneault's system. This is the type of hockey that Alain Vigneault wants to play. And Matt and I have talked about it on this podcast a couple times on the season. At the end of October, early November, Alain Vigneault's teams, when he was with the Vancouver Canucks and the New York Rangers, right when he first got hired, the 2 times he took this team with Vancouver, he took them deep into the playoffs his first year, and then the third year to the Stanley Cup Final, and his first year with the New York Rangers, Stanley Cup Final year 1. The team was .500 at Halloween. And guess where the Flyers were at Halloween? Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but just putting it out there. It's happened in the past. But yeah, just overall, like I said, watch hockey, enjoy it. To be fair, some of the additions haven't been great. Justin Braun's been okay. He's been on the ice a lot for too many 5-on-5 goals. He's had his better play. He's been shorthanded. He's been really good on the penalty kill. Matt Niskanen's been an absolute, horse. The Provorov of him, the pairing of Ivan Provorov and Matt Niskanen has been one of the best early on defensive pairings in the entire league right now, both offensively and defensively. And then with the call-up of Phil Myers, he's playing with Travis Sanheim. While Travis Sanheim has had a couple rough games, Alain Vigneault has not benched him like the previous regime would have done. They kept playing. While he was the definite result by blowing a tire of 1 goal Saturday night against the Leafs, he came back then and scored the go-ahead goal in the third period. And you're seeing why they kept on this trust and kept saying, hey, go back out there, kid. Earn your stripes. And Phil Myers has come up from the Phantoms, and even while he had a shaky preseason, has been pretty good. With defensemen, it's kind of one of those things where if you don't hear their name, it's a good thing. Because you're either hearing their name if they're doing excellent or if they're doing really bad, i.e. Andrew McDonald, Robert Haig, Sam Moran, etc. And right now, you're not hearing Phil Myers' name. He's coming in and he's playing good hockey. And for a rookie, which he technically is, considering he only played a fair share of games last year, that's all I'm looking for. It'd be nice if he could chip in more offensively, but he's not in that role. Right now, he's being used, as a second/third pairing defenseman, Travis Sanheim, and he's playing 5-on-5 and some penalty kill minutes. He's not needed in that power play role just yet, because on your power play units, you've got, Ivan Provorov and then Jake Voracek on the point, and then on your second power play unit, you've got Matt Niskanen and Shane Gostisbehere now. So you're hoping eventually, especially with Justin Braun being a free agent come this summer, you're hoping this season that you can see the evolution of Philip Myers' game to what it was in the American League and what it was in Major Juniors a couple years ago. So overall, bright, positive things leading into so that's going to really wrap it up for that little segment. But some news today, German Rubtsov was sent down to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and Mikhail Vorobiev was called back up. Rubtsov, he had a couple, he got a taste over the weekend and in last night's game. Had some trouble getting in and out of the own zone on the fourth line there. Didn't really make any flashy plays. You didn't hear his name negatively, but you didn't hear his name positively either. And for a forward who's really trying to make his stance and make a name for himself, that's not really the best thing. But he'll go back down to the Phantoms and dominate like he was doing beforehand. And Morovyev's getting his second shot. I'm a little surprised the Flyers haven't called up Morgan Frost with the way he's been playing with the Phantoms, but I can see why they don't want to put Morgan Frost is not a fourth line center. They're calling up Mikhail Vorobiev to be their fourth line center. And if you want Morgan Frost in the NHL, you at least need him in your top 9. And right now, there's no opening there. Because if you're running Claude Giroux, Sean Couturier, and Kevin Hayes as your 3 centers, I think that's pretty fine. And then you're not breaking up that second line of Couturier, Lindblom, and Konechny because they're essentially your top line right now. You're not breaking up either. I don't think you're breaking up Joel Farabee, Claude Giroux, and James Van Riemsdyk either. Reimer's still not getting the points. Farabee's getting some more goals. Another goal last night. Giroux got his 4th of the year last night. And eventually, the way they've been playing, JVR is going to break out as well. And that means you're leaving your third line, which it was last night, was Michael Raffl, Kevin Hayes, and Jake Voracek. And they played really well, but it came some more news today, as a matter of fact, was the fact that last night during the game, Terwinski and Raffl got swapped spots from third line to fourth line. Alain Vigneault met with Michael Raffl and Carson Terwinski today and told them they were going to make that change going forward for tomorrow night's game. And Alain Vigneault wanted to make sure to Michael Raffl to let him know that it was not a demotion. He was doing it to improve the fourth line because he didn't like the way they were playing, and Terwinski earned the chance to come up to be in the top 9 and play with Kevin Hayes and Jake Voracek based on his play of recent. His ferocious forechecking and his good defensive responsibilities. And so he just wanted to, meet with Raffl to make sure that he knew that it wasn't a demotion at all, and it wasn't because of the way Raffl was playing, but it was for a team best move, which sometimes you have to do. And ideally, on a good team, those are moves that you have to make. And it's nice to see a coach who has this winning attitude, who wants to push the button, who wants to keep going forward, and isn't okay with complacency and being bland, which is what I think a lot of this fan base has a problem with, because that's what we've dealt with the past 5 years of just mediocre hockey. Well, you've got Comcast finally now saying we want to be back to being winners. You've got your GM saying we want to be winners, and now you've got your head coach saying we want to be winners. And you've got a head coach now who's not afraid to call out his star players, i.e. Claude Giroux. What does Claude Giroux do? He comes out and has a pretty damn impressive weekend and an impressive game last night. So only the up and up from there. Lastly, on tonight's episode, like I did mention, it's going to be a short episode. The Winter Classic uniforms were unveiled over the weekend and today. Over the weekend, the Nashville Predators released their uniforms, which I am actually really a fan of. The only thing I'm not too big on is the cursive lettering on their chest plate where the logo would go. I do like the new Predator, saber-toothed cat logo they designed. It's on the shoulder patch for the Predators, but I would have swapped. I would have done the cursive writing on the shoulders and taken that new Predator logo and put that on the crest for the jerseys. And the Dallas Stars, of course, released their uniforms today, and if you ask me, I'm not too impressed with these. I think more people like them more than the national ones, but to me, they're kind of meh. Pants are an off-white. They're wearing, a Kelly green with a small white line down the shoulder and the arm, and like off-white pants. And I do, however, like the old school feel of their gloves. They're going back to the brown gloves with green lettering for the logos. I think that's a nice touch. But overall, I think they could have done more creative. Also, the Dallas Stars have a pretty nice history of retired jerseys per se in their retired uniforms throughout their history as a franchise. And I'm kind of surprised that the NHL didn't go back and use the old Minnesota North Stars style theme, since they've been doing that whole throwback-esque with the Winnipeg Jets, even though they're the Atlanta Thrashers. So personally, if the NHL was using that logic, I would have rather used the Minnesota North Stars jersey for the Winter Classic rather than the one they're using now. But hey, Dallas fans seems to like it. seem to like the jersey. So, as long as they're happy and Adidas makes some sales on it, cool beans by me. But like I mentioned, that is going to wrap it up this weekend, or this weekday. Dark already at 6 o'clock at night. Yay, fully hockey season mode. But that's going to be it for this episode. Mastro and I will be back next week with another episode where, of course, we'll have much more to talk about. We'll dissect the games that happened based on this past week, and we'll go from there. So I hope everyone, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching now on our YouTube channel. Keeping that subscribe button. Man, that's brutal. And let's go Flyers.